the concept of everyday ministry. Like we're looking for these, like, God, I want you to
Grand
use
ideas,
me.
right.
And that, and by God's grace, I've been able to, God's had us in certain circles and certain opportunities where we were able to minister and to a large amount of people. But I'll tell you, what God has called me to is everyday ministry, right? It's the go to the grocery store, but be present.
Yep.
Ask someone, how are they doing? You'd be surprised. A couple of weeks ago, I was at Brookshire and I stopped talking to this guy. Next thing you know, he's crying. He tells me how he almost committed suicide.
All right. Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to another episode of Soul Inspirations by Antidote Center. Today, we have the wonderful Mrs. Maritsa Umana, founder and CEO of Data Business Driven Solutions. Thanks for letting us into your personal space. I know you're a private person, but we all up in your business today. So thank you for letting us in. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
All right. Very good. Good to see you. Kids good, family good.
Thank God for God's grace.
Amen to that. So you just said thank God. So I know you're a person of faith. I know you're a believer, but being a foot and ankle guy, I like to start looking down, looking at the feet. So we're going to talk a little bit about your shoe collection over here. I know, would you consider yourself a shoe person?
Absolutely not. I pride myself on having the least amount of shoes.
Wow. Is that by choice? Like, do you get rid of stuff? You're not a hoarder. You don't like to keep...
I get rid of stuff. It weighs me down. So I have not added hangers in a couple of years. So whenever I buy something, I get rid of something.
You get rid of shoes. So you like donate stuff or...
Yes, donate stuff. Or I have a couple of friends and my sister, and they'll just
pick whatever they want. Generosity, guys. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I know her personally, so I know this is true. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff you have in here. What would you say are the oldest pair of shoes you have in your closet?
Oldest pair of shoes.
Oldest pair, yes.
All right, it's this.
Okay.
It was from Robinson's May.
Wow.
Remember that?
Well, you Google that, man. The youngest don't know nothing about this, man. Yes.
Robinson's May, and it looks just like the day I got it.
No doubt.
It's very light.
Very comfortable too?
I am very comfortable.
Okay.
I know. I am a patient. I am a former patient.
You know.
And yes, I'm not trying to be a patient forever.
Yeah, you. How long would you say you've had these?
Goodness, I was in college.
Wow.
So
let's not date ourselves.
Yeah.
I love
couple decades.
Couple decades. I love it. All right. Very good. I'm gonna grab that real quick. What would you say are the most recent pair of shoes you have? The newest pair of shoes?
Recent would be this.
Okay.
Would be yes.
Tell
Again,
me a little bit about
it's
those.
Lightweight.
Okay.
I'm not a heels person. And I'm a bit of a tomboy.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a lot of a tomboy, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
So I had to get these, and they're light. Tims are normally very heavy.
Yeah, usually very heavy. Yeah.
Yes.
These are light. Are they comfortable?
Yes. And I can put my custom insoles.
Hey, let's talk about those, man. Yes. Hey,
I'm flat footed.
Yes.
I need those.
No doubt, man.
Yeah.
What kind of occasion would you wear some Tims to? Dressy, casual, everything.
Oh man, this year alone, I've been to 2 balls that were sneaker balls.
True
so
that.
I wore this for one of them.
Okay.
And I wore the other white shoes. So
Beautiful.
I honestly, every chance I get to wear flats or boots.
Yes. Okay. I like it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about a pair of shoes that have the most sentimental value to you. What would you say?
There's a couple, but
okay.
My husband got me these.
Okay.
We went to New York. We just went crazy.
I like it.
It's Ted Baker's.
Okay.
It's just well made. And because I've had ankle issues, foot issues,
true.
I like a lot of mules, anything that gives me ankle support.
Beautiful.
And it looks like the day I got it. I guess look like
How many inches would you say that is?
That's probably 4.
Yeah.
I don't wear more than 4.
Okay.
Maybe 4.5.
Yeah. When would you say I know you're not a heel person, but I always wonder with people who wear heels, if you learn how to walk in heels or if it just came naturally. When did you say you first started wearing heels?
As a tomboy, it didn't come naturally. So just like with everything, I research. So I want to research how you walk in heels.
Wow.
And there's actually some bit of an art to it.
There is an art to it, yes.
But my thing is, why be uncomfortable?
Why?
I'm flat. Like I wake up when I get out of my bed, my flat on the ground.
Why make that work?
So if I have to, I do. And I have a couple, but for the most part, I am in Crocs and flat shoes most of the time.
All right. Any other shoes here your husband got for you? It sounds like
there's a lot.
He knows.
He got me there's a lot. This is from, again, because I'm not a shoe person, I'm not a jewelry person.
Right.
It's just when he goes out, he likes something. We've always been open like that.
Gotcha.
Like if you like something, I remember when we were dating, he calls and he's like, "Hey babe, I'm sitting next to this woman. and she smells so good. So I walked up and asked her. So he bought it for me.
He bought it. Wow.
So it just continues. And
Wow.
I rarely go buy shoes for myself. You know, I mean, there's a couple
of things. So typical day. I mean, what are you in? What's the typical
I'm in some
everyday?
Crocs.
Yep.
Some flats, some running shoes.
Yep.
I work out every day mostly.
So athletic shoes. Yeah. How about around the house? Are you mostly barefoot or
no?
slides?
I'm in some Crocs. I'm slides.
Okay.
Crocs and slides. Actually, I got my slides over there.
Beautiful. Let's check these out. So
these bad boys are from Costco Skechers.
I like it. I like it. See, free advertisement for Skechers. Y'all better send her a check, man, for real. Beautiful. So this is a typical everyday shoe.
Yes.
Very good. Sure. Very good. So I know, you're in IT, information technology. Was that always a goal of yours? How did you fall into the IT space?
No, I am probably the only person in IT that is an HR.
Wow.
Yeah, I came from HR.
Okay.
HR undergrad.
Okay.
I'm a people person, so that came easy. But when I moved to Dallas after we got married, I fell into supporting this president, doing informational just analysis, and, analytics and whatnot. And then he challenged me to implement this system one day.
Okay.
So grudgingly, when God's trying to push you somewhere, you don't realize. Grudgingly complain about it, and I went and learned it. And then he's like, "Okay, well now you have to train everybody." So again, that's when that's business analytics. That's project management.
Being a working mom, there's a lot of talk out there for professional females in the workplace now that, quote unquote, you can't have it all. Work full time, be committed full time, be a family person and a mom, and you feel like there are sacrifices you've had to make, or do you feel like you're able to do it all?
You cannot have it all.
You can't have it all.
It's a myth.
It's a myth, and that's my opinion too. But I wanted to hear it from you.
No, you cannot have it all.
Yeah.
I listened to this preacher years ago, and he said, as a businessman, as a family man, and all of these roles and hats we wear, my goal is like a circus juggler keeps everything in the air. You're never really holding anything.
All three of them at once, right?
One time, or 3 or 4 or 5, however hats you're wearing.
Yeah.
So my goal is not to be a bad mom consistently, or not to be a bad wife consistently. So that gives me grace for when I can't make that homemade meal
or whatever,
and still get to baseball practice and be in 3 cities at the same time.
Right.
But no, you cannot have it all. So it's a priority.
Beautiful.
And I think some of the opportunities that I do take are the ones I do pass on, because I think we're kind of bred to just because you can do it.
Right.
No, it goes through the same. We have sort of the same priority checks, right? It's God, it's family. Does that work? Then we can move forward and negotiate some more.
Absolutely.
So that's what it is. I mean, it hasn't always been this. I mean, I've done this a while now.
Yes.
Made my mistakes and gone through years where you're frustrated because you're more frustrated when you think you can have it all. But because we work as a team, my husband and I, and there are roles, there are opportunities I can go for it, but I don't. Because somebody has to be home, right? Because he's traveling all the time. The kids are in all these sports.
Right.
But once I own that and I realize that my role right now is to raise my kids a certain way and be hands-on, and this is a season and it's a small window, then I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm a competitor naturally. I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's do this well. Then everything else, career, money, everything else just kind of comes after that. If it just doesn't fit, once you have those boundaries, once I had those boundaries, and it's taken years, it's no longer what I left behind. Because I think, to be a go-getter, I had an executive MBA by 23, right? I was always the youngest in all the cohorts, right? And then at first, being a mom, being a wife, it feels like why do I have to give up?
Exactly.
Right? I have to give up. And then as you evolve, it's like, I get to do this for my kids or do this for my husband.
And you flip the narrative, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference. So yeah, I'm settled.
Amen to that. Now you talked about grace. Now as Christians, we believe in grace and we know that God orders our footsteps. There's a lot of pressure out there to have it all, be it all at once. And I'm glad you were able to dispel that myth, But what are some challenges that you've had to deal with? And how would you say your faith has helped guided you through? Generally speaking, in career or at home or whatever. Yeah.
I would say just being content in the season and not holding my breath.
Yes.
So there are seasons. Oh man, there was a time my husband traveled so much, and the kids were young. I had a toddler. We had multiple businesses, and I was working. So I'm the operator for the most part. You know, my husband, he'll do the strategic stuff once in a while and over it, but I was a day-to-day, and I also had my full-time job. And, you know, and also wanting to be hands-on with the kids and do home cook this and this and that and help with the homework. And I literally, eventually, I kid you not, 911 and all, ambulance, had a breakdown, a straight up breakdown. I don't know if it was mental, it was more physical.
Wow.
I had come back from a flight for work. And next thing I know, my head felt like it was going to explode. My blood pressure was over 200. It was, you know. So anyway, what I learned in that is I really cannot have it all. I cannot. And then it's just a matter of prioritizing. And I would say, I did this Bible study years ago with the women in my neighborhood, and it's just the concept of everyday ministry. Like, we're looking for these. Like, God, I want you to use me, and and by God's grace, I've been able to, you know, God's had us in certain circles and certain opportunities where we were able to minister and to a large amount of people. But I'll tell you, what God has called me to is everyday ministry, right? It's go to the grocery store, but be present. You know, ask someone, how are they doing? You know, you'd be surprised. A couple of weeks ago, I was at Brookshire and I stopped talking to this guy. Next thing you know, he's crying. He tells me how he almost committed suicide. Jesus. And the interesting thing is that day we were leading a home group, a couple's home group. So I was running late for the couples that were already in my house. And they're calling me, where are you? But that's where God needed me to be that day.
There was a calling and a purpose.
So if I had this idea of where I should be, I'm supposed to be leading this couples group.
You would have missed that.
It's just being open to being interrupted and being present. And I learned that from a Muslim woman.
Wow.
Interestingly enough.
Look at that. Yes.
She was our neighbor, and when we were the head of this ministry, head of that ministry. We were always in church, doing church. But this woman, I would try to avoid her, and she would sit in front of her porch. Hey, Maritsa, how are you doing? I cooked this. Do you want to try this? I'm like, well, we got time.
I got time for that. I got this ministry.
I got big stuff to do.
Yep.
And then eventually, she was so kind. At some point, I was like, if I hadn't experienced the Holy Spirit for myself, I'd be like, whatever you sell, I want to buy it.
I want that.
What was it? She was available. And that's when we made a huge shift. You know, we took up a lot of things, came off our plate. We actually even changed, came down from a lot of those positions just to be present.
Like intentional.
If we're all of this and we have all this light and all this love, and our neighbors, your next door neighbors,
literally
can't feel it, don't know it, because we're chasing what?
What's the point?
What at some point? At some point, it's enough is enough. Because if we're being honest, some of us are in a place right now where we couldn't have ever imagined, even in our prayer and fasting, we would be. But we get there when then we set new goals, and then we keep going. At some point, enough. And then how do we actually start living? And wherever we're planted, wherever we're living, wherever we're working, how do we start impacting people through everyday smiles or conversation, or how are you doing? And not let it be a rhetorical question.
Exactly.
How are you doing? It's starting to be a rhetorical question.
It's rhetorical. Like, we're not listening for an answer. We just want to hear you say good or fine and keep it
or just
moving.
do a fake smile.
Keep it moving. That's what brings me up to something. Just reminds me of something you just said. I mean, I asked the guy, the other day at church, actually, how you doing? And he was like, I'm good, man. I'm fine. And the Holy Spirit just said, find out what that meant. I'm like, well, how you really doing? And he literally just broke down and said, man, I'm going through a divorce. My wife that you see right next to me, she's about to leave me. She got the kids, and if I had just left that, I'm fine. We really wouldn't have gotten to the middle of that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So love that spot, and that sentiment about, taking a break, stopping and being intentional. Such a blessing. For somebody who's out there now watching this and saying, you know what, I want to be in HR tomorrow. I want to be in IT tomorrow. I know your faith has gotten you to where you are. And as Christians, we believe in community, and we believe that God orders our footsteps. What is some advice that you can give them? A young girl in Navy, for example, watching this, or somebody in South Dallas, what I'm saying, trying to make that decision, and feeling called and led to come into this space. What advice would you give them?
Open your mouth. Jesus is not coming down here to walk and come and
serve you.
Exactly. The answer to your prayer is around you.
It's right. It's right there.
And now it used to be network or talk to people or go to physical spaces. And these days you can get to those spaces virtually in your Facebook
on your
group.
Phone.
Who's your, first of all, I do to even the best advice I can give someone young or someone trying to do something is your influences should match where you're going, right? If your social media, your followers, people that you're following, the music you listen to, the podcast you listen to, they have to align to where it is that you're going. Because the truth is, all of it influences us.
Yes.
What you're watching influences you. Like, there's nobody immune to that. There's no amount of holiness.
I don't care.
You know, the Bible says the eye is a window to the body, right? But just open your mouth, because these days is not, you can be as brilliant as you want to, have all the grades, but it's who you know. And that's never been more true. Just open your mouth and be willing to learn, because the truth is, there's not a lot that's new under the sun. Somebody's already doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And they might not just be able to, because people like talking about themselves. You know, I learned that in my line of work.
Yes.
If something's not going well, I'll start, I say, what is it? You're so fantastic.
Right.
What is that? You know, they let their guard down. So after they divulge what it is that makes them so great, maybe God would touch their heart to be like, you know what, I have a contact, entry level this and this. Just talk and be vulnerable. I do think a lot of people they want to make it seem like everything is okay.
It's just this farce.
And I think it's easier. People think it's harder to
just be real.
To be real, I think it's refreshing because there's so much uptight and fake out there. If you're vulnerable about where you are, I really still believe there's goodness, and people will do what they have to do to connect you. Just get your foot in the door.
Absolutely. You are very, very successful today. Who are some important mentors you've had in your life, and how have they helped you get to where you are? People God has used and placed in front of you. You talked about the fact that it's not just you. This idea of self-made is a myth. Also,
absolutely not. There's not we were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago. There's not a big move, milestone move that God has brought us that didn't come through a person. Like I said, Jesus is not coming down and be like, okay, let's go
open this door for you.
It's been people and the power of vulnerability, and that's why we share so much. And it's very unusual for an African to share, to be so open.
That's not us.
Yes. Because people shared with us, hey, this is what we're doing. Buy this or make this move, and how can we hold that? Like, if you think about a funnel, you're a funnel that goes into a funnel that goes into a funnel. It has to pass through. God is not going to keep blessing you if it stops with you. What's the point of that? How does that further His kingdom?
Absolutely.
So I would say, in people, I don't know if they want to be mentioned, but there's been just people in our lives, even still, that we just talk the real, you know, like, hey, this is what's going on. We're moving this way, and you might want to do this, or, you know, we get calls. Yesterday, for example, I got a text, hey, how do I work this in an email? I've been known to be a wordsmith, right? You know, just saying what you want to say, but when that email gets forwarded a million times,
people read it completely different from what you intended,
but
right?
the person you intended it for gets the point. And just network. Like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. I almost don't want to say networking, because networking has a very cold, superficial, transactional conversation. But just, if you're vulnerable, this is where I'm at, I'm struggling with this, or this went really well. I think you attract, and I hate to say the same sort of people around you.
We're not going to say it's energy or anything like that. No.
You attract, you know, my mom always said, she used to say growing up, water finds its level. Right? The people that are meant to be around you, just be yourself.
Yes.
They will be, and they will stay, and you'll be glad for it. Even if you look around as one person,
that's who got into it.
Yes. You can let your hair down.
Yes. And it's liberating, right?
Yes, absolutely
liberating, man. I want to say a big thank you for letting us into your personal space today. This has been really inspirational. If there's anybody out there who, you know, wants to reach out to you directly, LinkedIn, Facebook, social media, you got any handles? How can they get a hold of you? They want to learn from you. Yes. I'm
on LinkedIn. I rarely check it.
Bro, snap. Okay, don't go on LinkedIn, because she ain't gonna check it.
Facebook.
Okay.
Maybe Facebook, or I'm on Instagram. I can't even really say I'm on Instagram.
Right.
Again, I'm very intentional about my influences. So I have an Instagram handle where I just, once in a while, I encourage women, but I'm not regular on it. But probably the best way to reach out to me is email. mcnwaohia@gmail.
All right, hit her up, guys. She's got a lot of knowledge, and if you want to own a closet like this someday, you better hit her up. Okay. No, she's very, very humble, and we're going to say a big thank you for letting us come into your space, and it's been inspirational. Thank you for sharing your faith, and God bless.